Alright, so we're going to create this file here. I had one of my former leaders reach out to me, asked me if I would make him a retirement plaque, so I told him I would be honored to do that. So we go in here to panels and shields. So we're looking for panel 3. And these things are so hard to sort through. I wish this was, there we go. Let's make it bigger. That helps a little bit. Who'd have thought? Panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. That's 13. Where's panel 3? Surely there's some rhyme or reason to this. Oh, there it is. Found it. Okay, so now we got the panel in there. Sorry about that. Let's make this a little smaller. All right, so this, we're going to go in here to modeling. We're going to change the size. I'm going to unlock or unlink the X and Y, and that keeps it from auto scaling and keeping the proportions the way they are, because I want this to be 19.5 inches, and then I want the width to be 15.5. Okay, so bam, there is our shield panel. And what this does is it's just a quick and easy way to create a excuse me, a panel. So and it automatically will know where to cut when I run it through the CNC. But now I want to go in here and I want to make this total height to 1.0. I'm going to go 1, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some other items to this that are going to stick out away from the overall image. And what we're aiming for here is a total size of 1.25 inches. Okay, so and I'm going to cheat just a little bit. I'm going to pause that so that I can go in here. I'm just going to grab these files and organize them real quick. This one. All right, so all right, and then all right, so I've got what I need. So these 3D files, they're fairly large, and right now they're being stored on my shop computer, and that is, well, it's out in the back of my land, and the Wi-Fi isn't too awful great. So I pulled in these 3D files that I've either created or bought. Some of them I buy, some of them I create. I created this one, I created this one. This one I had to buy. This one was a download from a 3D print. And then this one is one that I've had for ages, and I don't even know where I got it from. So with that said, what we want to do is I want to see how they're all grouped here, right? But I want to go in here to properties, and I want to look at what the overall height is here, right? So it says it's 0.4088, okay? But if we go in here and we tell it to, yeah, see, so it's 1.4, right? So that means that we've got to adjust these. So base height. So as you can see, we'll actually adjust that. But I think I'm going to leave that one alone. And I think what the problem actually is, oh, I know what the problem is. Because this should be 0.875, not a full 1 inch. And then I think my math will come out right. Let's see. 1.25, we're still at 1.28. Okay, so something is a little too high, and it's most likely it's this guy right here. So we're going to click on this. We're going to look at the properties. Shape height. No, that should be coming in right at, let's see about this one. 0.48. Oh, you know what? It's probably this right here, because those do look a little bit high. Let's see what 0.25 gets me. Oh yeah, that's much better. So you see how these are much lower now, and that's really what you want, because you're gonna want, you'll see once I do the passes for the carves with the bits, you'll see the lower it sits to the actual wood surface, the better it's going to be. You think about it like this in these terms. Those bits are spinning at about 20,000 RPM. So the closer that this is to the wood surface, the less chance you have of tear out, right? So I'm going to turn myself off here for a minute so I can do some things here. All right, so the other thing I see is these guys, they might be just a little bit low because, let's see. See how that's kind of going down? We'll see what it looks like when we run the bits. All right, so let's see if we're in the ballpark here now. Hey, looky there. It knows. All right, so use a down cut. Down cuts are going to give you a much smoother surface when they're done. And this is just a rough machining pass. So what it's going to do is it's designed to take the bulk of the material out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this guy. And this button right here creates a vector around that image, right? So I'm going to need that for cutout later, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and tell this thing to run, but we're going to look at how fast we're going. So this particular bit can run this about 18,000 RPM, and the feed rate is how fast it's going to move along the X and the Y axis. All right, so we're going to bump that up a little bit, and this is how you basically can affect the length of the job. So how long it's actually going to take. Okay, so there's the rough carve, and it just kind of cuts different layers, right? So you see how they're real rigid and very 90-degree-ish. That's because we're using a 1/4 inch end mill, so the bottom of the bit is flat. So then on the next pass, what we're going to do is we're going to do a ball nose, and it doesn't matter if it's an upcut or down cut here. It's a ball nose. It's going to wind up being very very smooth, the finish. So we'll go ahead and calculate this and see what it does. And I usually run a couple of finish passes, and I'll show you how you can add those in just on one set of instructions. It'll actually output multiple sets, but you can add other bits. So as you can see, there's not a lot of detail in here, right? So what I like to do is how I made that vector around those images. I like to go in here and select these, and then I'll do a vector around that and see how it picked up the purple outline or pink, whatever color you want to call it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another finish pass, but this time I'm going to put some very specific bits in here. So this 13-degree, this is a tapered ball nose. It's not designed for real high detail. So matter of fact, we don't want that one. We're going to go for, let's see how many, see if we can do this in less passes. So we'll run this, and what it's going to do is it's only going to pay attention to the things that are outlined here, because the rest of the project is already cut to where it needs to be. So we don't need to waste any time on the machine for that. Yeah, it might be running a little, the software might be running a little bit slow. My laptop did something kooky a while ago. I think I've got a video card driver issue. So I'm going to do a restart after I finish this video. That should clean up any errors that I might be having. So right now it's using the internal video card, so rendering these graphics takes a little bit longer. All right, so there you go. So see how much smoother these are. Now I can actually run one more. So we'll go in here and we're going to look at the step over rates on this. So this is at 20%. So we're going to take and we're going to drop this down to 10, and we're going to put this one down at 14, and we're going to see how much that cleans it up. So running a CNC machine isn't really all too hard. What this software does that I'm using, it's quite expensive software. I laid out quite a bit of money for this, but it's probably one of the best on the market, in my opinion, for hobby grade and even small business grade, even into the commercial realm for designing. But a lot of commercial producers, they have their own software. But Vectric, Aspire is the software. They do have a desktop. I think it's VCarve Pro. Maybe there's one other version or two, but the Aspire version allows you to do a lot of this 3D creating, whereas the other ones don't. All right, so I think that looks pretty good, but we're going to go ahead and add one more bit to this. So increasing or decreasing that step over rate. That step over rate, I guess I can explain that. This step over rate right here. Hey, look at that. Why did it change that? So this is, think of it this way. When the bit goes by, right? It's a, let's say it's an 1/8 of an inch tip. 10%. So it's going to move over 10% of the bit width, and then it's going to go back over and then step over that 10% rate and keep going. So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to add another bit in here. The other one that I like, this one's a really fine tip. We can probably run this at 150. And then I probably need to bump this up too, because how fast you run your bit is going to cut down on the time. Again, time is everything. So when you're dealing with a CNC machine, time is money. The longer it sits on the machine, the more expensive it's going to be for the customer. So you want to try and make it as fast as possible, but still putting out a top quality product, right? So I've already, like I said, I've already done this design. I have it. I've already presented it to the customer. He absolutely loves it. And it'll probably be cut. It may be cut sometime this week after I get off of work one evening, or it may have to wait until this weekend. I don't know yet. But at any rate, so when you're doing the 3D stuff, all you do is you just kind of place your 3D. These are STL files, and that just the format that it's in. You can create STL files with programs like Fusion 360. You can create it with this. There's 3D printer software out there that you can use to create these STLs. There's even online software that you can use. So the software's out there. There's some free stuff, but there really isn't anything free in this world. So typically you know, they're gathering information about you. All right, that looks like that's about as good as I'm going to get it on this one. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at time. So time-wise, 9 hours. Look at that. So that 3D finish clear number 1, that's this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of here. We're going to see, I'm going to take this out, and we're going to see we're going to see if that's a necessary pass or not, because I didn't see a very big difference in the quality of the finish between adding the 16 degree. So we'll see what this comes up with, and I may have actually put the wrong one in it. No, it's 15.6 is the one that I had initially. So if folks are interested in learning how to do this outside of this video and you want to reach out directly to me with questions or what have you, feel free. You can find me on any of my socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I have a YouTube page. I even have an X, and I have a Threads. I don't necessarily keep up with all of them, but Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are the best ways to reach out to me. Yeah, so see, I don't see any difference in the quality here. So we're going to leave it just like this. Okay, so now we're going to add in some text. So text, you would put, so for this particular one, and I think I wanted this all caps, and all right, so Command Sergeant Major, we're going to leave it at that height. Go back over here, and this is where we're going to worry about sizing, okay? So you click on this, open this text back up again. It's at 0.235, so we're going to go about a half, and we're going to see what that looks like. That's perfect. So now we just take this and raise it up here. And that looks like a pretty decent distance. So a lot of these things I just kind of eyeball. Now we're going to add some more text, and we're going to put, so that I don't put his name on here, I'm going to use my name. No, I'm not going to use my name. Yeah, we'll use a version of my name, Joseph P. Snuffy. Oops, Snuffy. All right. So now we can take, oops, we'll take this, we'll find some center. See how it pops that little snapping line up? That tells me that it's centered, okay? So all of this stuff is centered left to right. It's not centered top to bottom because I don't want it to be centered top to bottom. And I think we're going to have to move this up a little bit, because typically when you do like a military style award, you're going to want to keep some space for a write-up. So right here, and it doesn't have to be long. Doesn't have to be long at all, but something that commemorates that individual's service, right? And since this is for a command sergeant major that served over 23 years, he's earned this, right? So to create the 3D effect, so like all of these are, we're going to click on that. Then we're going to go over here to modeling, and we're going to create a 3D effect. So I want this, we'll say we want it about 125. That's an eighth of an inch. Okay, we'll do CSM here, we'll name it. That's just the naming convention so that, you can look at your design and know exactly what you're looking at. So we'll pop over here and we'll see how high that is. So that's a little bit high. So what's going to happen when this actually carves, you run the risk of tear out. If you're, see how thin those are? You're going to run the risk of some tear out here. So what we're going to do is we are going to drop that down to 0.8, not 0.8, 0.08. 0.8 would be huge. All right, so you see how it dropped down a little bit? And that's still not low enough. So we're going to go with 0.05 and see what that works out to be. Oh yeah, that's much better. So you see how low it is, but it's enough that it gives it that visual, it stands off and looks nice, okay? So we'll apply that, close this one, then we're going to go over here to the name. So I like to do something a little different with the name when I do a 3D. So instead of making it a flat like I did with the Command Sergeant Major, I like to make this one a little rounded, okay? So same deal, name it. And this is helpful for if I were to make this into a standard template, which I likely will, that I will offer on my website. Oh, look at that. I didn't save that. We'll have to redo it. That's fine. Oh, no, it's there. All right, so you see how it's got that little bit of a rounded edge on each of the letters. I like the look of that. I like to distinguish between the rank and then the name. But I also want this name to be just a smidgen lower. So we'll go with 0.0425. And there's no rhyme or reason to my numbering. It's just a matter of trying to get it a little bit lower than the other one, and that's it. So, boom. So that's that. And then for the text part, your write-up, you would just click in here. So go back to your drawing, click the text, and then Joe Snuffy served honorably for 20 years. Typically you're going to do something much more elegant than that, like distinguished service, brought credit upon himself, his unit, whatever branch he was in. So like, for instance, I was Signal Corps, so I would put, Signal Corps or whatever. But this text is obviously way too big. So for write-ups, I usually go a lot smaller. So like a quarter of an inch. And then the only thing I'm really going to show you here, and then we'll finish up this little quick learning bite, is to carve this. So you see I have the 3D carves, but now I want to take away material and engrave it into what's left of the wood, right? So for text, I usually like to use a 60-degree V-bit, and then you're going to click project toolpath onto a 3D model, because this entire model is 3D. So what that does is it tells the software, start at the top of this after those 3D carves are done, because it's going to remove some material. That way you don't have to worry about figuring out your depths, right? How deep you want that V-bit to go. So there's the text. I usually, for display purposes, I'll make that red or a color, black, red, whatever you want. And then when it's done, I'll actually I use a squeegee. I'll put some paint, just a little bit, and then I'll squeegee that across, and it'll drop that paint down into those V carves. And then whatever's left over, as long as you get it while it's wet, you can usually just wipe off any excess, and then you're done, right? Now, the one thing that's missing is, hey, where's the Command Sergeant Major and Joseph P. Snuffy? Well, I created those, but I didn't go back in here and recalculate my 3D part. So I need to do that, and then it'll put the rank and name there. It's a going. It's trying to get there. Hmm. So we're just sitting here watching funniest home videos, and there's lots of cats and dog videos. They're actually fairly funny. Oh yeah, I'm getting tired. But I hope that you've enjoyed this little video, and I hope you've learned something. Um, Trying to, come up with interesting content for folks if you're interested in, checking out what we got going on here at MC Squared. And there we go. So the last part to this is, remember that outline vector I did when I first started this one? I select that, and then I do a profile toolpath 1.251. That's the depth I want to go. You want to make sure it's to the outside of the the vector here, otherwise you'll cut into the design. Okay, and then you can check this here, but it doesn't really matter because we're cutting all the way through it. It's going to give you a warning. Hey, I'm about to cut through this piece. Tell it okay. Click reset, preview all. And the reason I go ahead and take this extra step is because I can double click on what was cut out and leave just what the finished product will look like, so that I can go in here and I can go save an image preview and send it off to the customer. Typically, this software is about 90% or so accurate on what it's going to look like. One thing we are working on is getting the wood tones to be correct. I've uploaded a couple, so let me see here. 61, I think, was the one that color. Yeah. So I found a website that has these pre-made. Now it doesn't really tell you what the species of wood is, but it's real close to what real wood grain looks like. So I like the way that it presents. So I'm gonna keep playing around with that and come up with something that doesn't look so, computer generated like the Canadian maple, because I don't know about you, but I'm not seeing any maple that looks quite that good. Typically, you're going to have a lot more prominent wood grain and such in here. So that's it for this series. Feel free to give us a like and a follow on our social medias. And until next time.